Imagine never dying of old age. Not as a sci-fi concept, but as a biological fact. The creature you're looking at does exactly that, and it might just hold the key to revolutionizing human medicine as we know it. Now, when we think of medical breakthroughs, we usually picture scientists in lab coats or high-tech machinery scanning bodies. But what if the next big leap in medicine isn't coming from any of that? What if it's out in nature?
Scientists learned they had discovered something inconceivable: immortality.
Regenerate an entire leg by 2030.
Meet Turritopsis Dohrnii, better known as the Immortal jellyfish. And no, that's not a cute nickname. This creature literally does not die of old age. When most animals, including us, age, our cells gradually break down. Not for this jellyfish. When it gets old, sick, or stressed, it does something incredible. It transforms its existing mature cells back into younger versions of themselves. Imagine if your skin cells could suddenly decide to become baby skin cells again. That's basically what this jellyfish does. It ages backwards until it reaches its juvenile state, then starts the cycle all over again. Technically, it could do this forever. But here's where it gets really interesting. Scientists aren't just observing these jellyfish anymore. They're decoding their secrets. In the last 5 years, researchers have mapped out the entire genome of Immortal jellyfish. They've identified specific genes that control this age reversal process, and some of them have counterparts in human DNA. One discovery is a group of genes that control something called transdifferentiation. That's the process of one type of cell transforming into another. In humans, this process is usually locked. But what if we can unlock it? And that's exactly what scientists are working on right now. In labs all across the world, researchers are already applying these insights to human cells. Researchers in Japan have identified the specific cellular pathways that allow the jellyfish to reverse its life cycle. Now think about what that means. We're not simply talking about living longer. We're talking about fundamentally changing how our bodies handle aging and healing. But the Immortal jellyfish isn't the only one teaching us new tricks. This is the axolotl, and it's basically nature's version of Wolverine. Lose a limb? It grows back. Damage to the heart? Healed. Spinal cord injury? Fixed. It can even regenerate parts of its brain. When we get injured, our bodies form scar tissue. But axolotls? They rebuild everything perfectly, like it was never damaged in the first place. The secret lies in something called a blastema, basically a pool of supercells that can become whatever the body needs. Scientists have already identified several genes responsible for this process. Gaining increased insight into the cellular and genetic mechanisms underlying this ability could lead to new treatments for traumatic injury, disease, and aging. Most axolotl research is now focused on the question of fibrosis, aka scar formation, or why axolotls regenerate limbs and tails, while mammals such as mice and humans form a scar at the site of an injury. But because of its amazing regenerative capabilities, the possibilities for the research in the axolotl are wide open, especially given the plethora of new tools that are becoming available to work with it. But if you really want your mind blown, we need to go smaller. Much smaller. Meet the tardigrade, also known as the water bear. And it might just be the toughest creature on Earth. These microscopic animals can survive in the vacuum of space, go without water for decades, handle pressures 6 times greater than the deepest ocean, and withstand radiation levels that would kill a human instantly. Their secret weapon? Special proteins that protect their cells from damage. And here's the exciting part. Scientists have already synthesized some of these proteins and found they can protect human cells too. These proteins are already being tested in revolutionary ways, from preserving organs for transplant, protecting healthy cells during chemotherapy, developing new radiation-resistant materials, and even creating more resilient vaccines. But here's what gets me really excited. We're just scratching the surface. Right now, we're mainly copying what these creatures do. But the next step is even more fascinating. We're not just mimicking nature anymore. We're learning to enhance it, to take these incredible survival mechanisms and make them work even better for humans. Think about it. We're using artificial intelligence to predict how these biological mechanisms could be optimized specifically for human bodies. It's like we're taking nature's best innovations and giving them an upgrade. And this isn't just science fiction. Clinical trials are already underway for treatments inspired by these animals. Let me paint you a picture of what walking into a hospital might look like 10 years from now. Instead of the traditional one-size-fits-all approach, imagine treatments that are tailored specifically to your genetic code. Your doctors would have access to a whole toolkit of cellular technologies inspired by these remarkable creatures. They might use stem cells that combine the immortal jellyfish's age reversal abilities with axolotl's perfect regeneration, or synthetic proteins based on the tardigrade's biology that could protect your healthy cells during aggressive treatments like chemotherapy. But what's really revolutionary is what's happening at the cellular level. Scientists have begun creating what they call hybrid cellular systems, essentially human cells enhanced with the best features from multiple species. It's like giving our own cells superpowers. And here's where it gets really interesting. We're not just talking about treating diseases anymore. We're looking at fundamentally improving how our bodies work. Imagine maintaining the vitality of your 20s well into your 80s or beyond. Not through some miracle drug, but by giving your cells the same resilience as their tiny tardigrade friends, or the regenerative abilities of the axolotl. The implications go far beyond extending life. We're talking about extending healthy life. These advances could help us recover from injuries that we once thought permanent, or protect us from diseases that currently have no cure. And it's not just medicine that can be transformed. Think about space travel, where astronauts could be protected by tardigrade-inspired radiation shields, or disaster response teams with enhanced cellular resilience. Even organ transplants could be revolutionized, with preservation systems that keep organs viable for much longer periods. What's truly remarkable is how quickly this field is advancing. Just 5 years ago, many of these ideas would have seemed like science fiction. Now, they're being tested in clinical trials. Of course, we're still years away from some of these applications, but every day, researchers are making breakthroughs that bring us closer to this future. And the best part? We're learning all of it from the creatures that have been right here all along. Of course, with great power comes great responsibility. As we develop these technologies, we need to ask ourselves the important questions of how we'll actually use them. It's important for us to think about topics like how to ensure equal access to these treatments, the implications of dramatically extending lifespans, balancing innovation with safety, and also maintaining biodiversity in the species we're learning from. For centuries, we've been looking at nature as something to conquer or protect, but maybe we should be looking at it as something we can learn from. These creatures have already solved problems we're just beginning to face. The future of medicine might not come from a traditional laboratory. It might come from understanding the remarkable animals that have been running their own experiments for millions of years. And maybe, just maybe, the key to extending human life has been swimming in our ocean all along. Now, what do you think? Which of these creatures amazes you the most? And how do you think some of these discoveries will change medicine in the next decade? Let me know in the comments section down below. And if you're interested in learning more about where the world is heading, hit that subscribe button. We're just getting started.